Giddy!
Hello!
Welcome to episode 8.
Episode 8 of the Black Iron Brothers podcast. I can't figure out if we've framed this right. This
Are we
might
too
be
far or are we too close?
We have... No, I think it's too far. I feel like we're a million miles away.
He's actually twice the size of me. It's just an avatar.
You look wonderful in that black top though, darling.
Ooh.
Anyway, so, what are we talking about? Today we are talking about growing your arms. I have 17.5-inch arms. Nice. For a natural, it's not bad. He's got 20-inch arms. He's picked the worst top to be wearing to show off his arms. But he's got
camouflaged
20-inch arms. Very, like, by everyone's standards, very impressive for a natural though. So, like, I'm going to compliment him. Yeah, he won't do it to himself. But 20-inch arms as a natural is pretty bloody good. So we know a thing or two about growing your arms naturally. But the same rules apply if you're on gear as well, really.
Oh.
Potentially it'd be
it's going to be way easier.
Yeah, it'd be a lot easier.
To some extent, you just sit there.
Well, don't... Oh, I hate how he talks about this stuff. You're enraging all of the steroided community there.
But there is studies that show.
There are studies that show that you can grow without doing anything.
Roof.
Yes, but that's also super unhealthy and no one does that long term. Anyway.
What do they? I think people do it long term.
And then they die. If they do it really high, really long term.
At some point in our podcast, somebody dies.
Someone dies, yeah, always.
It was chewing gum before.
We've gone off the rails already. We're
right,
digressing
so
hard.
arms. Okay.
Yeah.
How to grow your arms.
So,
continue.
Something that should be mentioned from the get-go is that the triceps are 2/3 of your arm, and it's something that people neglect a lot, is that they're probably working potentially more biceps than they do triceps. It's something that you see a lot from sort of noobs in the gym. They're just doing hammer curls or supinated curls or, you know, whatever, preacher curls all day, and they're not working their triceps.
They abstain from triceps.
Or they do some push downs, but it's like not necessarily as much as they would do biceps. And that really you should be trying to do potentially more triceps than you're doing bicep, although you do get a lot of tricep work from your pressing movement.
Yeah, from more of your, like collective workout wise, if you looked at the percentage where your triceps are involved, it's going to be higher.
Yeah.
Because shoulders and chest.
So you'll have bicep involvement in rows and pull downs and chin ups. All back movements, basically, you are going to get bicep involvement, obviously. But you definitely get a lot of tricep involvement from your pressing movements. For me, personally, I know that my favourite movements for, like, building triceps are going to be either a close grip press, push, I should say, really like a close grip bench, or like a weighted dip. I would even say that weighted dips are probably even preferred for me, just because I find that they're more comfortable for my shoulders. I feel good doing weighted dips.
Thing with close grip. Not for everyone, but just certain subsection of people, they struggle with their shoulder. I struggle a little bit. Only once it gets to a certain intensity, but I struggle with partly because my bench is reasonably good.
Yeah.
So I can go reasonably heavy. And then my shoulders feel, it's just, otherwise I think,
So it might be a question of, sometimes people are like, oh, which one's better, like a weighted dip or like a close grip bench? And it's like, you can do both.
Yeah.
Or, like what works for you as far as like, what doesn't hurt, find movements that don't hurt for you and do those. But you do want to go heavy with the triceps. You do want to go heavy with the biceps.
Yeah, that's a big one, isn't it?
And you should probably talk about how you grew your arms initially, because everyone always asks him this.
Yeah, so I think the massive thing, people kind of understand that you should go heavy with your triceps because of movements like dips and the close grips, right, which are both great. But when it comes to biceps, everyone's sort of working in that range of like trying to get that pump at the end of the workout. You're sort of like around 12, maybe more, which is not bad in terms of a rep range, but no one ever really pushes their biceps. Now, that's not to say you want to cheat them in terms of like a huge momentum swing, which is what a lot of people go into. Yeah. But like with everything, progressive overload, which our very first video we did, was about, progressive overload is the main factor in terms of building muscle mass. So you do want to develop strength in your arms. And if you develop more strength in your biceps and you can lift more load, as long as the form is in that good range, you're going to build more size and strength. And I think a lot of people, the shortfall they come into when they train biceps is that sort of, it's an afterthought, or even they put loads of effort into it after they trained.
Yeah.
But it's always high reps. There's no real adaptation. Like if we talk about reps in reserve, there's almost none.
Yeah.
No, sorry, the opposite of that. There's like almost 10. There isn't none in terms of, there's always loads. Like people just put it down. You see they just put it down, and that's often accompanied with they'll be lifting something too heavy for them using a swing. But if you actually looked at their like fatigue levels, you have no idea when they're going to stop. It
looks like they could do it forever.
Normally you see people's like almost like their battery bar, like and you're like, oh, they're gonna fail around here, or they're gonna stop here because their form has broken down. But it's like you
can just keep swinging with bicep curls.
Yeah, just swing and catch.
And there's this weird thing as well where you'll see a lot of like I'll say like noobs, but like it happens with people who are really like unfortunately experienced in the gym, where you'll see people who are like curling 10 kilos or like a 16 kilo dumbbell, and that's the weight they do, and they're just like, I'm just gonna do 16 kilo curls forever, and it's like,
that's it.
Why? Like what why would you not try to bring the weight up? And they're like, I'm just trying to get a pump, and it's like that's useful. It's nice to get a pump. It can be helpful definitely to get a pump.
It only lasts a few hours and then sadness.
And then it's gone again, and your arms haven't grown.
And you've got to get that quick picture in the perfect lighting before it disappears.
And then it goes back to usual.
You're like, no,
business
why
as
did it
usual.
go?
So you should. I mean, I wanted you to kind of say what you did when you were like 14, 15 or whatever in your house, but you kind of neglected to say
it. So the very first thing I did when I wanted to get into training was I was too young to go to the gym. You have to be 16 to go to the gym. So I went to Argos. And I bought, I think it was 70 kilos worth of concrete weights.
Concrete?
Which I decided to carry home, having never
How
weights
did that
before,
even happen?
Which is ideal.
That's dedication to the game, though.
I almost died. That's the most cardio I've ever done. People were like shouting at me. I was 15, so I was walk a few steps up each, a few yards up any road that I was going on, and then rest it on the pillar outside people's houses. And people would be like, "What are you doing?" And I'd be like, "I bought weights," and then they were quite nice. I was like, "I really can't.
I shouldn't be doing this.
If I put it down, I'm definitely not going to pick it up again." It's so awkward.
I've done that before.
And they knew I was going to struggle. They had great enjoyment. There was something like a 22 to 25-year-old who's serving me.
I've never heard this.
Yeah, they were serving me at Argos, and he knew. I know he knew. He was like, "This guy can't. This guy's not going to make it home." He was like, "Do you need help carrying it out of the shop?" And he said it in a way that he knew I was going to say no because I was a too proud teenager. Like, "No, I can carry these weights."
Yeah.
And as I left, you could see the staggering my
struggling on the way
and
out.
He definitely enjoyed that. He was like, he's not going to make it.
But something to mention is that what did you do from the get-go is that you went heavy on your biceps.
Overload, yeah, always went progressive. I was always trying to improve. Now you potentially
pushed it a little bit too far because you didn't really have any knowledge and you were 15 or whatever.
Sure.
So you were like, I'm going to 1 RM my bicep.
But it did give me I didn't actually ever do 1 RMs, but I did do like heavy push,
like crazy
like I'd be
heavy.
like, wow. Yeah. I had a technique where I'd sort of like wrench my elbow into my side and be able to go and leverage it up from there. But I got
that's the way.
In my defence, though, I mean, yes, it's not the most efficient. It's actually quite a safe way of doing it.
Yeah, because you just lock it. It's like a preacher curl. You lock it in.
I was creating a preacher using my hip, but I had my arms developed way more than everyone else who my age group at that time. Yeah.
And you're also in the peak hormonal profile stage to just be building massive arms.
I loved it. I prioritised it like bench press. I'd be like, right, now it's time to bicep.
Like your main workout.
That's the highlight of my day. Yeah.
So anyway, what we're just saying is that like heavy curls, heavy bicep movements whereby you're still maintaining good form.
Yeah.
But, progressively overloading, not being afraid to do 5, 6s and stuff like that with bicep curls. You don't always have to be doing sets of 12 plus on bicep curls. You can be doing heavy 5s, 6s and 7s and stuff like that. And pushing those those RMs or whatever on your...
The perceived 1 rep maxes. I wouldn't really recommend doing the 1 rep maxes, but that's exactly it. You're still trying to see what your 1 rep max would be, using that sort of algorithm to go up from there. Why treat it differently? That's essentially what we're saying with arms. Why, because it's on your arm, does it not follow the same principles as if you were trying to build your quads? Let's not talk about my quads. But...
hasn't squatted in like a year.
Terrible example. If you're trying to build your quads, you're trying to build your chest, trying to build your bench press, it's exactly the same principle.
Yeah. The rules don't suddenly just change because they're your arms. It's like, oh no, but it's my arms, so I'm just going to get a pump. And it's like, no, you can get that pump at the end, but you should probably still be doing the heavy progressive overload movements first. So I personally like to do some kind of like burnout movement like once to twice a week with my biceps, where I'm just right at the end, super, super light, just getting a huge pump. But all of my work before then is going to be heavy work and I'm trying to progressively overload. Something that should be mentioned as well is potentially frequency of arms. Like you can like do a lot. Arms recover in like 24 hours. Like on average, they recover in like 24, maybe 48 hours.
Think about how many times you've
really.
had DOMs in your arms. like generically whilst you're training? How many times do you get real significant bicep and tricep DOMs?
But also mostly once you get those DOMs, how long do they last? They don't last days and days and days. Like it's not like a leg day where you'll push your quads like crazy and then for days your legs are broken. Like you don't get that with arms. Typically, even if you're pushing like crazy, they'll recover quickly.
The frequency of DOMs in arms is relatively low.
So what I think for people who are struggling to grow their arms, you should, you don't really need an arm day. You don't really need to just do an arm day. Stick your arm work in with multiple other sessions during the week and just get frequency, try to get some volume, and also obviously try to push the intensity up. But like trying to hit those arms, hit biceps 2-3 times a week. There's nothing wrong with that. You could definitely, there are guys who hit it even more often than that.
And you can dedicate an arm day if you wanted to go really,
You can, if it's a real massive weakness.
But normally it's difficult in terms of like people's overall time management, what their other priorities are. If you're building a lot of like really neurally fatiguing movements like your deadlifts, your bench presses, stuff like that, it's hard to take an entire day and prioritise it just for arms. But bodybuilders do. Sometimes bodybuilders have an arm day. But then you get this sort of like weird bro split where they actually just do arms once a week.
Yeah,
and that's exactly. That's typically not as efficient.
So it's typically like if you're going to look at a lot of the high level coaches, they're just going to be sticking in a little bit of volume of biceps or triceps or whatever, just sporadically throughout the week, so that they can just always be tapping that muscle over and over and over again because it recovers so well.
Yeah, at least twice a week.
At least twice a week is definitely a good place to be.
He's right in that aspect.
Something else that we should talk about as well is the ranges of motion for the biceps and triceps, and you want to kind of be hitting all of those in the week. So you don't want to just be hitting, like, for example, like a standing hammer curl, for example. You want to probably hit some form of like hammer curl or supinated curl from a normal range of motion, but also indeed, for the people who want to know the terms, you also want to hit like a decreased range of motion, so to speak, of the elbow being in front of the body and one where the elbow is behind the body. Hitting all those different ranges is going to allow you to get a little bit more out of it.
So front of the body, if the elbow's in front of the body, it's going to be more of a peak contraction.
Yeah.
And if the elbow's behind the body, it's going to be more of a maximal stretch, right? So you're going to get the fullest range of motion. That's just, just to break that down.
That's why you can get kind of like an incredible like contraction and squeeze from something like a concentration curl, for example, or a preacher curl maybe, if you're leaning into it and you're getting that elbow in front of the body and then squeezing like hell, you can get a really good squeeze from doing that. But then you're probably not going to get as good a contraction, so to speak, from something like an incline curl where you're sitting on an incline bench with your shoulder behind, with your arm behind you. But what you will get is a ridiculous stretch in the bicep. So
that's got a lot of lactic acid from that one.
Oh yeah, so it's horrendous and it feels super uncomfortable.
Afterwards you're always like,
exactly.
Like, okay, it's alright.
But you want to be hitting all of those ranges for the biceps and potentially even multiple times a week hitting all of those ranges.
Yeah. As long as you fall in that your recoverable volume.
Yeah,
but
and then maybe what you could do is put the full range of motion, the normal range of motion of just like a standing hammer curl or a supinated curl, alternating curl, whatever. That would potentially be your heaviest movement, and then reducing the weight for the incline or the concentration curl or whatever.
And alternate curl has always been my absolute favourite for bicep. Look, I'm off the screen again. See, I don't think it was far enough back.
I've cut my head. I've noticed that I've cut my head off a couple times as well. Should we sit back? Let's sit back. Let's chill back here.
But yeah, my absolute favourite bicep exercise, the one that I sort of attribute most of my strength gains, was an alternate curl. And that doesn't mean just like, well, yes, technically you are alternating arms, but it means you start from a hammer position and twist up into a supinated position.
Yeah.
And that, with heavy load, is an incredible amount of development in the arm. I think it's as like a foundation, it's like your bench press for your biceps. You can handle a lot of load there. It's relatively safe. It's not too much strain on your wrist or your elbow. So it's pretty.
And awesome. And also obviously like general rule of thumb, don't do like crazy jumps in weight as well as far as like your biceps.
Although
2 kilos at a time.
It's ironically actually harder to increase your sort of bicep and tricep strength if you're using dumbbells, because you have to go up by 4 kilos.
Yeah,
in the UK at least you have to. Whereas
2 at a time.
Even on your bench press, which is a huge, the intensity is way higher. You would typically go up in 2.5.
2.5, yeah.
So it's one of those ones where it gets a little tougher.
Yeah.
But there's nothing you can do about it, so that was essentially pointless.
No, but what you could do is what I like to do with my clients, for example, is let's say they're doing 3 sets of 8 with 10 kg on a hammer curl, I'll bring them up to like 3 sets of 12, and then I'll bring it up to 12 kilos. You don't have to do that, but that's definitely an option. Is like get comfortable doing more reps with the weight, and then bring the reps back down, heavier weight.
If you were going to do old school 3 sets of 5, it's going to get hard.
It's going to be hard. So that's biceps kind of covered. Triceps.
Triceps was
the dips and the close grip.
Everything that we said applies to that as well. So you still want to work in the full range of motion. So you want to work with the elbow going behind the body. It's the reverse here, right? So when the elbow's behind the body, you're going to get more of a peak contraction. And then when the elbow's in front and stretching up here, you're going to get the most lengthening of that muscle there as well. So you can...
So that's why it's
the long head,
beneficial to be doing some kind of behind the head extension, beneficial to be doing some kind of like push down or like a big squeeze out with like a rope.
Yeah.
You know, all these different ways of just hitting the tricep where we're doing, you know, like maybe a close grip or a dip, and then something like a push down, like a bar push down, tricep extension, something like that, and then a behind the head movement as well.
Yeah.
Play around with some single arm stuff, play around with different ranges, but also always tracking and trying to progress those things, and not just doing them willy-nilly.
Yeah, and no movement on triceps you have to do. So if there's a particular overhead movement that hurts your shoulders or causes discomfort, just do a different one. Like this one is very common. Can I fit in? If I just sort of break myself.
Yeah.
This one would
buckle yourself. I feel like I would have done it. I'm fine at this angle.
Yeah, you do it. And demonstrate it.
This one.
Yeah, that one, people love that one.
Yeah.
There's a few issues with it in terms of the fact, if you've got a massive dumbbell, your range of motion is massively reduced.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if he's got a dumbbell,
it hits you in the back of the head as well.
Just trying to break the top of his spine off.
And it's uncomfortable for the wrists. And
internal rotation of the shoulder, which if you think about the reason, a bit of a tangent, but everyone always says things like bench press are bad for you and things like that, but that's because of the internal rotation. If you have your chest up in a bench press, it's not going to get hurt. So anytime you can avoid internal rotation in any way, it's going to be massively beneficial for your shoulders, and you're going to get way less wear and tear on that joint. And because you use your shoulders for almost everything, like you use it, biceps, everything.
Yeah.
All movements come from the shoulder of the upper body, really.
So many movements as well. So many movements are like internal rotation movements. This is why you need to be doing like your cable external rotations. Something that I like is like
save your life.
Like a Cuban press or a Serrano press or whatever. Getting that external rotation is going to be really healthy for the shoulder.
Explain what a Serrano press is for. That's an obscure exercise.
So a Serrano press is probably my favorite, one of my favorite at least, prehab movements for when I'm doing like log press or maybe bench press. Is you're putting a bench onto an incline. You're in a prone position, so your chest is on the bench. You're then kind of like pulling the dumbbells up. So imagine that I'm lying down. I'm lying down here, and then externally rotating. So my hands are coming up here, and I'm pressing out in front with the dumbbell.
Let's just highlight how bad our framing is. That was exactly it.
We need multiple cameras.
Barely fitting in.
But yeah, like these sort of movements that are gonna externally rotate the shoulder are gonna be really useful because so many movements that we're doing are internal rotations. So work on those external rotators as well. If you feel any discomfort in the shoulders, do a different movement for triceps. You don't have to do a close grip or
everyone is different.
Yeah.
Like dips, I don't really have that much pain.
Yeah.
In particular if I put my head down. So that's an interesting thing when you're training triceps. If you put your head down, for some people that will take away shoulder pain. So that can be an interesting thing because some people, when their head's right up, they get that pain in their elbow and in their shoulder, but when they put their head down, it's more of a natural unlock of the shoulder.
Definitely.
Can help you with that.
I've done that. It definitely feels more comfortable for my
Some people can be absolutely fine, but for anyone that I've ever trained who's experienced pain, as soon as they put their head down, it's completely taken out.
Yeah. Anything else you want to touch on here? I mean,
so you could go into a bit of the minutiae of training arms. So you hear a lot of stuff about, say, like if you... Can I fit in this bloody frame?
You're too large. I'll move over. Look,
so
you do it.
Hello, welcome to the Black Iron Brothers podcast. No, it's just me now.
Black Iron person podcast.
Let's just block out. Let's get a pillow. Let's get rid of just get in our frame. I'm taking over.
Come on, say the thing.
You're still in it. No,
I'll be over here. It's fine. I'm chilling.
No. So if your arm is out, you're going to work more the inside, and if your arm is in, you're going to work more the outside. And people get sort of obsessed with that. And with that aspect, and they're like, well, I have to do that. And yes, it's true, and the same works with triceps, but reverse it around.
Yeah.
But the reality is, whatever movement you do that works flexion of the arm in a full range of motion is going to grow the entirety of your arm. Yes, you can put emphasis on different parts, but just like as if you were to do a decline bench, a normal flat bench, or an incline bench, ultimately you're still going to be working the entire pec. Yes, you can shift focus, but the reality, it's not like it's wasted time if you were to just do, you only have time or whatever, not only have time is a bad example, but if you were to train like a heavy alternate curl, you're still going to develop the entirety of your arm. You're not going to wake up with like craters in certain bits that just haven't been filled in, like a weird jigsaw puzzle. Yes, you can put emphasis on, and if you do have a particular weak point, you may want to look into that. But generically, and what you see with most people is, as long as you train with good form on the solid movements that are proven to work, like, you know, barbell curls, alternate dumbbell curls, even if you're not necessarily working every single different range of motion, in terms of point of where the elbow can be, you still see great development. And no one would notice. No one would be like,
there's something lacking
inside
there.
left of your bicep looks a bit shit.
The reality is, if you're training them regularly, heavy, different ranges of motion, different styles of movement, you know, you're going to get overall growth.
Unless you're on stage, then people will actually...
They
will try and find something like that.
Like,
that's bad.
That is the goal, is to find where there could be issues.
Make yourself a symmetrical.
But yeah, that's basically it, really. I mean, we're already 20 minutes in here.
Bloody hell.
We've been ranting for a while.
Maybe we have to split this one as well.
No, we can't split biceps and triceps. Let's just do one video.
Actually sounds like you could perfectly split.
I know, but we haven't done it that way. We're going to have to edit it like 15 different ways.
Amalgamate it together.
So we'll stop ranting. But that's basically it for arms.
Progressive overload.
Yep.
Most if you can, and it doesn't cause any pain, working the elbow in different ranges of motion.
Yep.
Different positions. I keep saying ranges of motion. It's the same range. It's not full range of motion, but different positions of the elbow to put emphasis on different parts of the arm.
Frequency as well.
Frequency, so they can recover really well. They can handle heavy loads.
Yep.
Regardless.
As long as you just gently bring that weight up.
Yeah. And any movements that cause you pain or impact any other lifts, there's always something else you can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always.
Yeah, so that's it basically. I love that you're just holding this position. You're so committed to this position.
Freeze frame.
Freeze frame. And just the credits start rolling. Anyway, thank you for watching, guys.
Appreciate it.
Like, subscribe, comment, all that kind of stuff.
Ring the bell.
We get likes and subscribes. We're doing well with subscriptions. We're not getting so many comments. Comment, people.
Comment. So that's what you want to
say.
know.
Ooh, you're handsome. Ooh, I hate you. I hate you. Like,
preferably in the same comment, just so we're confused as to why.
Troll the hell out of us. It's fine.
That's going to be famous.
Anything for that algorithm.
You're going to see the next one. We're going to be.
It's just going to be.
I'm going to be wearing mascara. I'm going to be very emotional. I'm going to develop sort of an emo subgenre. I'm going to start a band.
A Black Iron Brothers works in that case.
Yeah,
really well.
I'm going to shave
emo.
half of my hair off.
It's kind of punky emo.
Only
half of it.
I'm going to sing and then.
Dear.
Right,
anyway,
thank you guys.
Bye.